So last week, I shared with you a story where with the Icarus group, German group coming down from Dharamshala, we got stopped. This incident happens now in my stories from the road and what I learned. This incident happens just 2 days later in the same group. We're now in Delhi and I have just spent the last 2 hours in the office. And now I have really bad news that I have to come and deliver to the group. What had happened was Indian Airlines had, in their infinite wisdom, in the middle of the season, had changed the flight schedule. And that had impacted our flight to Leh as well. Basis the old schedule, our group was supposed to have spent 7 nights in Leh. And as I'd already known from the people who were traveling in this group, some of them had waited years to come on this trip. And now with this change in schedule, that actually was nobody's fault, we had only 4 nights. Or we could have had 10. But 10 wouldn't have worked with the return flights, so we had only 4 nights. When this choice was presented to the office, they had immediately gotten in touch with Icarus. Now remember, this is back in the day when the preferred means of communication was a telex machine, and in the rarest of rare cases, we used a fax, and even rare was to do a telephone call. So this was the rarest of rare, where a call was placed to our manager in Frankfurt. We had a manager who used to sit in Frankfurt in those days, pre-internet days. And this manager in Frankfurt had actually spoken to Icarus, and what had been agreed was, keeping everything in mind, that the group would spend 4 nights in Leh and then come back to Delhi, and we would add a bolt-on to this program. As I was trip leading, I was tasked with delivering this bad news to the group. I had delivered bad news to the clients a few times prior to this. It is the part of the job. You learn to do it in a way that it shows that, you're being calm, the situation is not in your hand and you're coming with a solution. But you also have to remember I was 22 and probably, you're not so mature. I walked up to the group, I explained the situation. We had this lady in the group, 70 years old, she had waited 10 years to come back to India. I knew her whole story. She was deep into Buddhism, had traveled with studios through North India, through South India. And she had only come back to India to go to Leh and spend 7 nights in Leh. She knew most of the monasteries by heart. When she heard that our program had been impacted and it was now going to be only 4 nights and not 7 as was originally planned, she lost it. Completely, totally, and understandably so, she lost it. She started yelling at me. And this happened at a time when she was actually going to get a dinner, and she had a plate in her hand. Next thing that she did surprised even me. She picked up that plate and she came with that plate to break it on my head. She was so angry. Now, visualize this. It's a 5-star hotel lobby and you're delivering some news to a group and the group is standing around you. There's this one person who has a plate in the hand and she's yelling at me and she comes with this plate. And I'm just literally jogging away from her because I don't want her to hit me with the plate. I'm just kind of jogging through the lobby, past the reception, past the concierge, past some of the other guests who have absolutely no idea what's happening. And behind me is this 70-year-old grandmother with a plate in her hand, absolutely determined that somebody's got to pay for this bad news. Well, fortunately, others came and calmed her down. The plate was not thrown, the plate was not broken, nobody got harmed. But I'll tell you that in 35 years of work, this is the only time that I actually genuinely ran away from a client. Here is what I think about when I remember that day. She was not angry at me. She was angry at a situation which nobody had any control over, and since I was the messenger, so I got to bear the brunt of it. She'd been waiting 10 years for this. I get it. Today I get it. That specific anger is the anger of someone who understands exactly what India is worth for him or her, and she had waited for it. Let this be an advice to a lot of young trip leaders who expect everything to run like clockwork and then they get panic attacks and they start hyperventilating when things don't go the way they're supposed to go. Being a trip leader means you are the face of the company, and in that moment of time you're going to be yelled at, you're going to be chased. You will probably not have plates aimed at your head by the people, but it can happen. It did happen with me. And if you're lucky, a few years down the line, you would have a great story to tell like I do.